Wonderful.
Thanks so much. We will go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you all for joining us today. We're very excited to provide you this webinar. Really quickly, before we get started, I just want to go over some housekeeping. To answer one of the questions in the chat, yes, this webinar will be being recorded, and we will be sending out a copy of the deck as well as a link for you to view the webinar if you choose to do so later on. Also, good news, if you are looking for SHRM credits, this has been approved to get you credit. As well as if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I will be monitoring those and answering them along the way. I want to introduce you to Mr. Kevin Sessions, the CEO of TalentQuest, and Lisa Black, the Director of Data Science for Energage. We're very excited to get started, so I'm going to give the mic over to Kevin now.
Thanks, Carla. I appreciate everyone's time today and look forward to the time we spend here over the next 30, 40 minutes or so. It's an honor for us to be presenting this with Energage and their team. Lisa, it's great to prepare for this with you and look forward to the time. Lisa's going to actually be doing the bulk of the speaking, and I'll be chiming in throughout. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Lisa, and let you kick us off.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. I thought my mic and video were on, and it turns out neither of them were. So I've only been working from home for 6 years, so you would think I would have this figured out by now. All right, sounds like everything is good to go. So welcome, everybody. As Kevin mentioned, my name is Lisa Black. I am the Director of Data Science here at Energage, and I'm really excited to speak a little bit with you today about how we can manage talent through workplace experience. So Carla, I don't know, do you have access to the slides, or should I take control? And
you can feel free. I will stop sharing and then you can take over.
No, go ahead and keep sharing. I'll just click for you.
Sounds good.
Maybe I'll just click for you.
Actually, yeah, that way I can monitor the chat. So I'll just let you share.
All right. Well, let me share my screen then over here. All right. Can everybody see the agenda? Yes,
We've
perfect.
got it.
Okay, so today we're going to be setting the stage a little bit. So why do we care about workplace experience and talent management? Things that we're all familiar with, but why are they important in this context? We're going to talk about starting workplace experience even before folks actually sign on the dotted line and become employees within your organization. We're going to talk about monitoring their workplace experience throughout their employee life cycle, not just making sure they're happy when they join, but happy while they're there, and hopefully for longer than just a short time. We're going to talk about the versatility of the check-in and how it can be used to hit multiple touch points on not only survey results, but growth and development from just a well-being check, that kind of thing. And we'll talk about 360s, performance reviews, succession planning. We'll bring it back full circle, and then we'll enjoy the rest of our Wednesday, or whatever day you're listening this to, for those of you that are listen to the recording. So setting the stage a little bit, why on earth do we care about workplace experience? We've seen metrics like this before. A lot of times they come in the frame of mind of why do we care about employee engagement? We know that higher engagement can lead to better business metrics, such as higher net profit, lower safety incidences, better productivity. Again, these are not new bits of information. People who are emotionally invested in their work, are bringing their extra selves to work, care about what they're doing. They're going to put that extra energy in. And even though in this instance, and today we're going to be talking a little bit more about workplace experience as opposed to just the outcome measure of engagement, the results are the same. Better workplace experience, better results. Talent management. Why do we care about this? Because we don't live in a world any longer where people show up to work, they do their job, and they go home. There are certainly people who want to do that, and that is perfectly okay. But more and more folks want to get something out of their work beyond just an 8 to 5 gig. They want to feel meaning. They want to know that they're having a contribution. They want to know that there is growth and development for them. They're not going to be basically spending a third of their life doing the same thing day in and day out. They're not, as a part of wanting to invest themselves more, over 80% of employees want more feedback, more communication. How am I doing? Where's the organization going? Did we have a good quarter? Did we have a bad quarter? Is there anything else that I can be doing differently? How can I grow? And these are all really important because it can cost, as I'm sure many of you know, up to 2 times, if not more, for senior leaders of an employee's salary to replace them. So in giving folks something to connect to and helping them see a vision, they're more likely to stay with us for a longer term, which is going to help us spend that money not on trying to find and replace them, but to invest in them, to help them grow and to help see them thrive and flourish with our organization. And if they were to choose to leave, over 130,000 resumes are being submitted daily. And that's a lot of work for humans to do. How do we sift through these 1 or 2 sheets of paper and really get an idea of who these people are, what they want to bring to the organization? Are they a good culture fit for us? Are they a good team member fit for us? And so being able to really get a lens on folks before they even join the organization can be really powerful in making sure that they're the right fit and they're able to stay with us longer. Again, why do we care? With the powers combined of workplace experience and talent management, if we can find the right talent and make sure that we're monitoring their experience and checking in on their experience, making little tweaks where necessary, we can really put our best foot forward into setting the stage for satisfied employees who are more committed to your organization, who are more likely to stick through things when times get rough or times get hard, and really are bringing their best selves to work every day. So a little bit more about workplace experience. We think of it a little bit like a pyramid. And if you're familiar, if you've ever had Psychology 101, think about this a little bit as a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We have the foundation. If we don't have the things that we need in this foundation at the base of our pyramid, it's going to be really harder to actualize things that are higher up within our pyramid. So in this case, we're talking about feeling fairly valued. Am I getting out of the job what I'm putting in? Am I respected and supported by my team members, by my manager? Do I feel like I have a voice, like folks care about me and I'm actively contributing, not just on an island, but as part of a broader group? And do I have a place to grow here? Do I have the training opportunities I need? Does my manager care if I'm growing? And do I have the opportunity or the potential to reach whatever career goals I have here? From there, we think about being closely aligned. Do I believe in the direction of my organization? Can I find meaning in my work? Is there a future here? Do I align with the values of this organization? And then how do we get the work done? Do senior leaders know what's going on at any levels below them? Do employees know what senior leaders are doing? How am I able to get the work done? Is it easy to do? Can I, not necessarily the job itself, but do we do things efficiently and well here? Can I collaborate well with my team members? Essentially, am I able to get the job done that I was hired to do? And if we get all of these pieces together and in a line, then only then can we really have the potential to be engaged, where we can bring that extra effort into work, bring some more emotional energy into what we do day in and day out. And this is just a bit more going back to that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So at the very foundation, is it even possible for me to be engaged? Am I working my tail off and I am not getting enough to make ends meet? Do I have to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to just be able to pay my bills? That's a problem. I'm, again, just trying to figure out how I can have a roof over my head and food. If I'm good there, what's my day-to-day experience like? Do I feel respected? Do I know that managers and teams have my back? Am I fulfilled? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? Do I know that this is a long-term gig for me, or is it just something I am showing up to until the next thing comes around? With a broader experience, what does my company stand for? What am I building that is bigger than myself here? Can I get the job done? I've been hired to do a specific job. Do I have the ability to do it? Or am I just, being hamstrung and tripping over myself, running through red tape? Pick whatever cliche of it is really difficult to do anything here that you want. And that can really really throw a wrench into folks being able to bring their emotional effort into work, because it's just so hard to actually do anything here. And then we look at the entire experience. Am I being able to bring my best energy to work every day, do the best that I can, enjoy what I'm doing, even when things get hard? This is all why workplace experience matters and how it impacts what we do day in and day out. If we think about some of the 4 pieces of talent management, we've got hiring, managing, developing, and retaining folks. You can see here within this graphic that none of them are a one and done. There's a bit of linearity here, but there's also some cyclical work here. You may give somebody a behavioral assessment to know who they are, figure out how they fit within your culture. Are they going to be behaviorally aligned with the work you need them to do? But that can come about through succession planning as well. Thinking about managing folks, this regular check-in, performance evaluation, feedback, learning and development does not just happen on a line. It kind of goes up as a, think about basics. They don't remain the same. They evolve as we get more proficient at them. Same thing is true with the managing experience, with learning and development. And then at the end of a particular time in a role, for example, it's not a hard, fast, okay, you're done at this particular role here, good luck. It's where can you fit into the next generation? Where can you fit into the next line of responsibility, the next succession for not only your career growth, but others, if they choose to step out? How can we help merge this individual into this particular role so there's some continuity there? And Kevin, what would you add to this graphic here, this broadening of talent management, not just as a one and done, but as something that we continue throughout the employee life cycle?
Yeah, Lisa, no, I think you said it very well. I think, as probably most everybody on the call knows and understands, organizations are complex, right? And the different departments and functions, they're ever evolving based on market conditions and business conditions and economic landscapes, whatever it may be. But the people that make up those organizations are also very complex, right? We all have different needs. We have all different interests, different skill sets that we can bring to the table, different behavior styles and tendencies. And as we look at talent management, what we need to understand is business leaders, as HR leaders, as learning and development leaders, is that we need to make sure that we can provide the organization and our leaders and our people the tools that they need to not only understand who they are, but the people on their team, and how do they work together? How do we know where to promote from within? How do we know and where we want to develop and where we want to grow? And this concept that you mentioned of making it continuous. This is not a one and done. People today want more feedback. We all want more feedback. We want that instant ability to ask and receive. So the more opportunities we can provide for people to connect in a meaningful and intentional way, the better off we're going to be.
Absolutely. Well said. And how do we know if we're doing a good job with the connection and providing feedback and giving folks what they need at work? We do a survey, right? But before that, we start the workplace experience through the candidate experience. We are going to make sure that we're bringing the best people in. We're going to build the best teams, and we can do that a couple of different ways. Not only do we broadcast who we are, showing folks, the potential candidates, who we are as a place to work, what values we ascribe to, but by doing that also, or in lieu of, or not in lieu of, in line with that rather, we want to know who they are through behavioral assessments. Tell us how you like to work. Tell us who you like to work with. We do a similar thing with branding as well. So 84% of all job seekers read reviews and investigate an employer's brand and their culture before they even apply. I want to know, am I working for a big box corporate location that, where the unwritten culture is I'm going to live at work and not work to live? Or am I going to, be part of a mellower culture that really values its employees and isn't as hard driving? These are things that folks want to understand what they're signing up for before they even apply. And we can do that through survey results and using those in branding. So we can take advantage of some of the bright spots within our culture. How do we do on innovation? Do folks know what's going on? Do they believe in the direction that we're going? What is it like to work here in our employees' own words? It's not just saying we're an amazing place to work, but it's saying we're an amazing place for you to work, and here is why. We also do this behavioral assessment like I was talking about. So we as hiring individuals and people who are looking to build our team can understand who these candidates are. What we're looking here at is a result of my own personal behavioral assessment. So we can see here, outside sales, not necessarily a job that is going to be my forte here. I'm much more of an introverted human being. The idea of cold calling people terrifies me, not at all my jam. So if I'm applying for a job as an outside seller where I'm going to have to reach out to folks I don't know on the phone, that's probably not going to fit naturally with the way I like to work, with who I like to work with. I can be a little bit independent. I'm a little bit less of a rule follower, not to say that I completely go rogue, but I like to be a little bit like a pirate Jack Sparrow. Rules are more like guidelines. So I'll follow within them, but I'm not necessarily the type of person who needs to follow step A through Z in order to be successful. These are all things that I would ask hiring managers to evaluate about me. What's the job I'm being asked to do? And is it a right fit for me based on the way I naturally want to behave, my natural tendencies? How do I like to get the work done? How might I balance the team? So thinking about this, rule follower being more like a pirate, maybe that's okay in some scenarios. I can serve as the balancer for folks who like to do things step 1 through 10, step A through Z. And I could say, are, steps F through M really necessary? Can we make things go a little bit faster? Can we feel okay with making some mistakes and knowing that it can be a test and iteration? There really can be an opportunity for balance, and we're not necessarily looking for the exact same person to fill roles on a team. How do I like to communicate? Do I like to talk things out, or do I like to think about things beforehand? How do I like to be recognized? As a moderately introverted person, the idea of coming up and having my name called in front of a group of people and having to go up on stage can be slightly petrifying if I'm not expecting it. Probably not the best way to recognize me. Some folks love it. Some folks want their names in neon lights, if we even do neon lights anymore, with lights flashing and recognizing these folks. That's great for them. Doesn't necessarily work for all people. So we can understand this about these folks before they even come in, so we know how to appropriately recognize them. So like I said, managing talent actually can start to happen pre-hire. I can get the results of who my candidates are, how they might like to work. So I know, are they going to fit the culture of this organization, the subculture of the team, the behavioral requirements of the job, all those kinds of things. And to set the stage for this pyramid, for fairly valued, my foundations here, I'm going to have conversations about pay and benefits before I ask somebody, or offer a job to somebody and ask them to sign on that line. I want to set expectations with them. Working from home can be really great. Or is it, I just live in my office and I never get to see my significant other or my kids. I never get to go outside because I'm glued to my computer because I don't have that commute. What's that going to be like? Am I able to balance work and life in a way that makes sense to me? Or am I going to be, again, tied to one or the other, rather, in a way that doesn't work for my schedule? We start to manage this talent and the employee experience, the workplace experience, even before folks walk in the door. Once they're in the door, this survey that I mentioned is a really great way to manage workplace experience across the life cycle. This C curve, or I actually often refer to it as a U curve because I tend to flip my results 90 degrees on the axis here. It's typical. Those in the 3 to 5 year tenure bracket often are the least favorable on workplace experience, whereas those folks in the 6 month to 1 year are the honeymooners here. How can we capitalize on that? How can we maintain their excitement? We've sold them on this place to work as a really great place to work for them. We want to maintain that excitement. We want to be able to build on what they were excited about and make sure that we remind, oops, that's the wrong way, these folks who are in their mid-range tenure, why they joined the organization, how their experience within the organization, how they figured out how to work here can really work to everybody's advantage, how the keys that they understand or the secrets that they understand about how the organization works can be transferred into other people to help them work more efficiently, help them work better. There's an opportunity here not only to to be able to see really what's going on within all types of folks within your organization, not just within departments, but with different tenures, different levels within the organization. But there's also this ability to help share experience and really try and make sure that everybody is able to have as positive experience at work as they can. Once we've done our survey, how do we know where to start? We take a look at results. Obviously, I'm guessing a lot of you folks are familiar with how to do an employee survey, how to look at positive areas and strengths and say, okay, I'm doing really well, enabling my folks to grow, doing really well with helping them feel fairly valued. They see that a strength of ours is that my manager cares about my concerns. These are all really great things that I can build on when I have to take a stab at figuring out how I can make folks more favorable about getting the work done. Getting the work done and execution and collaboration can be really tricky points within organizations, as I'm sure you all know. But by looking at these results from kind of a top level view, I can say, all right, where are some hot spots that I might need to focus on? Where are some strengths that I can celebrate? What are some strengths that I can take advantage of in order to build on my ability to make changes based on this survey? So we've done the survey, we do action planning then, right? We've identified where our hot spots are, we've looked at these insights, and now it's time for this action plan, which everybody cringes at. And everyone's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to action plan. It's so much work. I'm so busy. I have so many other things that I have to do. I don't want to take the time to come up with this big, hairy checklist that everyone is going to look at once to say we've checked the box, and then they're never going to look at it again. Or we can think about action planning as becoming better leaders. We can look at it as connecting with our employees on a deeper level and building a relationship with our team members where it's not just manager team members, it's kind of a coaching relationship. I'm going to help you get the work done, but you've got to help me figure out where you need help. You've got to lean on me when you need advice. You've got to tell me what is in your way of getting the work done well, so I can help coach you and I can help drive real performance. So action planning doesn't become this thing that we talk about once a year or once a quarter whenever we do our surveys. It's really just small behavioral changes that fit into our day-to-day. They may look a little bit different than the way we typically work, and they may take some time to really ingrain in our natural habits, but it's not necessarily this big, hairy, audacious, oh my goodness, I have to do this, and it's one more thing. It's really just, okay, I hear your voices saying that it's a struggle to get work done here. How can we change these up a little bit, make some minuscule changes so that we can, we don't have to do something that's really heavy lift. And this is where check-ins can come in and become really versatile. We think of check-ins as just like a one-on-one weekly kind of manager conversation, and it can be that, but it can also be a light check-in with the team. I can check in on pieces of the puzzle of workplace experience with a pulse survey, or I can check in via an entire survey. I can do check-ins for different kinds of results, whether they be short-term, what can I fix today to help you get your work done better, versus long-term, how can we better collaborate with other pieces of the organization. It can be a 360 review. So how does everybody view me as a team member, as a performer at this organization, as an employee here, versus a connection? What am I doing well? How's your week going? Those kinds of things. There are very different there are different levels of check-ins that allow us to capture different pieces of the employee experience and act on them differently. The most actionable statements within our workplace experience pyramid are in the middle. We've talked about how folks need to be set up as feeling fairly valued, and how engagement really is kind of our moment of actualization, and it's more of an outcome measure. But we can use our check-ins in different ways to really focus on this middle section of the pyramid to try and drive action and have some slight behavior changes that'll make our workplace experience better. We can also look at long-term goals. So making sure that folks feel aligned to the direction and they find meaning within their work. Formal training is often a longer-term goal. But we can look at shorter-term goals as well. How do I need to change how I recognize you? What makes you feel more appreciated here? What questions do you have about what's going on within the organization so you feel clued in? Or what do you wish senior leaders would know? One-on-one plans about growth. team plans about how we can all work better together, not only within our team, but across departments. We could do pulse surveys again, as I mentioned. We could do a full survey. When we hear check-in, we think of short and quick. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be a lighter weight communication in a way in order to touch various points of workplace experience. And it's really all about connection and communication. So if we're thinking about feeling respected and supported, if I'm taking any kind of action or having a conversation about the results of the survey or about individuals' workplace experience, I'm showing inclusion because I'm saying, let's work on this together. This is not me telling you what we're doing. It's saying, let's come together and figure out how we can make experience better at work. It's appreciation, saying thank you for sharing your feedback. It's asking for new ideas from everybody. What could we change? Everybody's getting a voice. And finally saying, as a manager, I care about your concerns. I hear you. Setting up a check-in really depends on what your goal is. Do we have longer term goals? Do we have shorter term goals? 3 times more employees would feel more engaged if they had regular manager check-ins. And they can be pretty quick and easy to set up, right? So we can just start with, how is your week going? How was last week? What's going on? Not just within work, but in your life as well. Showing concerns about who you are as a human. What's on your mind as far as what would you like more information about that's going on within the company? Are you stuck anywhere? Can I help you with that? Is there anyone that you would like to recognize? Recognition doesn't necessarily need to come from a manager. Here within Energage, our CS team has a meeting every Friday where they do shout outs for folks who have really helped them, or who have maybe gone above and beyond, or just someone that it gives an opportunity for recognition. And it's a really great way to end a Friday by getting an email in your inbox saying you've been recognized by this person or this team. Kevin, is there anything else that you would ask or add on here, whether it be about recognition, about check-ins, that whole process?
I think it's just to build on what you said, Lisa, is the importance of doing them and providing that more frequent feedback between a manager and employee and even a team. You know, we as individuals, we like to get feedback on what we're doing well. We should like to get feedback on what we're not doing well, where we can improve. So I think the habit here of making sure that we're having these check-ins and doing them regularly. There's plenty of studies out there. We've probably all seen them, but they all point towards a lot of the same things of saying and realizing that the more managers who provide more frequent feedback have more engaged and higher performing employees. And so there's something to this. I think another piece of it is collaboration. And you know, in a making this a two-way street, where a check-in shouldn't just be manager driven and down to the employee. It should be collaborative, and providing a vehicle and a way and the capability for a manager employee to collaborate on what they need to discuss, what's on their mind, what's important, what's not going well. And then making sure just we have the means of documenting that information. What are we going to do about it? What action items do we want to come and take care of that are a result of those meetings? And how do we make sure we're following up on that and bringing that back full circle as we think about you know, development, performance management, and ultimately career growth for the employee. One last thing I would say is mix them up, right? What we talk about when we talk about them. Some of our clients we see that have great success with this suggest and recommend quarterly themes to their check-ins. While there may be weekly one-on-ones between managers and employees, they'll put in some structure to have some quarterly theme check-ins as well. It's a great way to make sure we're working and talking about the whole person.
I love, love, love the change in themes. I used to do check-ins once upon a wonder where we could, just check in on one item on the survey, for example, and super informally, like the execution item, we get things done efficiently and well here. Maybe that's an opportunity to say, what would you do differently? What gets in the way of you doing your work well? And folks can answer it, or maybe they don't have to. But it's a continual way of checking in and making sure that you're monitoring different aspects of that workplace experience on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I'll mention one other thing to mention is, and I saw a question come up about an example of a quarterly theme. It may be element as a quarterly theme, for example. What are your career interests? There can be, multiple different ones, and we can even share some examples post this or for folks if you'd like. The other great thing about technology is, to be able to then recommend agenda types based on the type of meeting you're having. And that's where a lot of best practice can be brought into an organization. So if we're having a conversation about career development, well, what are some starter questions that I should have to be to get me going to have that conversation, right? So that's where technology can be a great tool to really help provide and seed those questions to feed your check-ins.
Love it. Love it. Moving on to the idea of growth and development. Kevin was talking about the check-ins being a good opportunity to talk about career growth and development. And we talked about the behavioral assessment at the very beginning about how it's a really great way to figure out who folks might be and what they might bring to work as far as types of work they like to do, how they fit in with the team, et cetera. But they're also a really great opportunity for growth and development from a self-awareness perspective. When we're thinking about like my behavioral results, as we're seeing here on the screen, like I mentioned before, rule orientation, not necessarily my strong suit. But there are times when that is a disadvantage for me. Like if I'm needing to work through a certain set of steps to get a product into production or to go through certain approval channels, I might find that frustrating, but it's a really good opportunity for growth for me because I can see how by doing these things in a correct way, it might get me better buy-in. It might get to my end result a little bit quicker. It might gain me more favor with certain people within the organization who could see me more as a collaborator, as someone who's just going to, do what they want to do and get it done quickly. So this behavioral assessment is a really great opportunity to make folks more self-aware and figure out opportunities for them to grow within some of those soft skills and figure out how to stretch on some of their weaknesses. There's a saying out there that says out of 10 people, 7 to 8 will say that they're self-aware, but really only 3 of them are. So like I said, behavioral assessments, not just for bringing folks into the organization, but also continually revisiting them when it comes to personal growth, when it comes to some of that soft skill growth, and also when it comes to growth within the organization, because that growth can come from soft skills as well as technical skills. If I'm thinking about 360s and other ways of measuring performance, it's not just a conversation with my manager on where I could improve and what I could do better, but 360s can be a really great tool to see how I come across to other people. What kind of teammate am I? What kind of employee do I look like to maybe my manager's manager who might be thinking about where I could grow within the organization or thinking about things from a more strategic perspective? It's not just, again, it provides various views from where I could look at my performance, how I come and not just get the work done. Do I get the work done and to what degree, but how do I do it? And how do I come across as a key player within the organization? And some of the self-guided learning comes into play as well here for some of this soft skill development or even skills that might be a little bit outside my wheelhouse. For example, I've done a workshop for design thinking. I'm not a product manager and I'm not a UX designer, but the idea of design thinking, where I'm going to need to think through different personas, helps me get a view into how those different team members of mine work as I work in software development, product development, and I might see where they're coming from. And as I'm helping design things from a data science perspective, I can try and take some of that design thinking into my work as well. So it's not just I have to go and become a better scientist and become a better data scientist and increase my skills in Python and large language models and all those kinds of things. That will become helpful. That is helpful, but sometimes those soft skills come into play just as much, if not more. What would you add to that, Kevin?
No, you nailed it, and it's a combination. And I talked about at the beginning that people are complex and organizations are complex, and how those two work together and marry together are important. And it's a continuous cycle. In at different phases of our life, we may need more of the hard skills as we begin to transition from a individual contributor into management roles. We're going to need a lot more of that soft skill training and understanding what it means to be a leader, and how do we be compassionate about others? How do we lead through change. So it's going to ebb and flow throughout our careers and through an individual's careers, what type of training and development and upskilling they're needing. I think the key is if we are connected leaders to the people on our team, leveraging a lot of the tools that you've been talking about here, then we have that better understanding and awareness into not only the individual, but what they need at this given time or that given time. And so that we can encourage them, help point them in the right direction. There's also some really neat things that again, I'm sure a lot of you are using in your organizations and doing to leverage technology, to really bring these things together. But it really is that connectedness and understanding that things are going to ebb and flow. And if we stay aware, not only of ourselves, but the people that we work with and around, we can do a great job of making sure that we're pointing people in the right directions and ourselves in the right directions.
Absolutely. And that right direction can help us not only be where we want to go, in the immediate term, the relatively short term, but in the longer term as well. As Kevin's talking about being aware of what skills we might have, what skills we might need to improve. That might be not only for the current job that we are in, but for future jobs as well. So if we're saying that 73% of employees who stay with an organization more than 5 years credit education and credit training, that means that not only have they come up with an idea of where they need to be and the skills they might need to get there, but it's often an indicator that the organization has helped supported them as well. So Kevin, I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the succession planning, how we can identify some of those not only behavioral traits, but skills that might be needed to help folks grow, and how those can be identified and capitalized throughout this process.
Yeah, and I think a key in this is versatility and completeness of data and information. We need to be looking as we think about career planning and succession planning and talent planning. They're all slightly different and slight nuances that and how you refer to those things. Uh, at the end of the day, though, it's making sure a couple of things. One, we want to get that input and we need to get the input from the employee themselves about what are their career interests. It doesn't do us much good as an organization if we try to push somebody down a path that does not fit their interests and goals and long-term objectives. So we need to understand kind of how they're feeling, where they're leaning towards. At the same time, we need to make sure that we educate them and expose them to other opportunities inside the organization that they may not even be aware of, may not know that they're interested in. So how can we expose individuals to opportunities and give them exposure to experience some of the other types of roles and responsibilities? Can we put them on cross-functional teams with other individuals that they maybe wouldn't have interacted with? Um, the more visibility and information we have into our talent, who they are, how, are they willing to relocate? What are their skill sets? What are their interests? The better visibility we have there, again, the more opportunity we can provide to promote and grow from within. And we know that obviously there's much more success when we think about promoting from within than looking for the outside. It also sends a great message to the organization that we care and we want to help people grow and develop, which Lisa kind of gets back to some of the stuff you said at the beginning of when we think about starting this process before we even hire somebody. So these are all tools and capabilities and systems and processes that should be put in place, making sure we're doing talent reviews throughout the organization so that we're again gathering this information, asking this information, and all of it needs to tie back to development, right? It's one thing to collect the information, but let's make sure we're providing that opportunity for growth and development. So looking at skill sets, capabilities, interests, career opportunities, behavioral styles and tendencies and traits, all of these things coming together provides a powerful combination for us as leaders and the organization as a whole.
It absolutely does. And kind of to bring that back full circle as we're providing that path forward and that succession planning, it really is helping folks believe that there is a direction for them within this organization. When folks are taking that time to not only invest in their own growth and development, but see that others are investing their growth and development, it can be a sign that they believe in the direction the organization is growing or going, rather. They know that they can grow there. They know that they belong there. They're part of a team. And they see a future for them within the organization. They're not just showing up and doing a job that they could be replaced tomorrow. They really have a commitment to what they're doing. They know that they make a difference in their team members' work. They make a difference for the company. They make a difference, hopefully, in the lives of others if that's their jam. They really see that potential going forward. And for those that might, struggle a little bit, those 3 to 5 year folks that might be forgetting how why they first joined, or struggling to find some meaning and direction, circling back to branding is a really great way to help remind those folks that are already within your organization why it's a great, a top place to work, why folks enjoy working there. Use some of this collateral from the survey to rebrand to your internal folks as well. You can put up quotes from survey responders about why folks love their job. You don't have to, but you could say things like, 80%, 86% of folks feel appreciated here. 95% of folks feel that we care about or that managers care about them. There are lots of opportunities aside from action planning and check-ins to use those survey results to continue to get folks excited about working with their organization. After all, these are the employees' stories. This is not some marketing plan or marketing campaign. These are your own employees' words. So share them, share their stories with the organization, and help celebrate why you're such a top workplace. Remember, all of these concepts we've talked about today are not one and done things. They're basic people practices, and they might look different at one level than another. I mean, think about, the behavioral assessment, hiring people. It's not just who are you when you join, it's who are you in the future of this organization. Think about other skills like learning to drive. A 16-year-old does not a 16-year-old learning to drive a car turns left very differently than a Formula One racer turning left. They're still turning left. It just looks different. It's a different level of skill. Same thing here. We are still using the same behavioral concepts. We're just using them in a slightly different way. Thinking about managing, communication, checking in. How do I communicate as a team member that might be slightly different than I would be as a manager or a leader? How can I improve my skills so that I know that I can grow within this organization? What are my next career steps? To the question in the chat here, can you use branding if you weren't selected as a top workplace? You absolutely can. Just because we are talking about these things have top workplace logos, you don't necessarily have to be named a top workplace in order to share collateral like this. This type of branding content only exists if if organizations have scored above a certain threshold. So you can look for those pieces within the organization that are going really, really well, and use those as a springboard for your internal branding campaigns as well. Going back to this same concept, different tenure. Kevin, did you have anything to add? I know we've talked about this a little bit, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
No, I think one piece I'd like to share and make sure that people are thinking about is the correlation between engagement and talent management practices and processes. They are absolutely related. If we are doing a better job, as we talked about, having frequent conversations, having those one-on-one check-ins, providing our employees with learning and development opportunities that is personalized to them based on where they are and their job and their performance, their career interest. If we're providing them those opportunities to learn more about themselves through better self-awareness and asking them about their career interest, those things are going to result in increased engagement, right? They are directly tied together. So it's just a really, really cool thought and concept to be able to look at this and being able to look at our survey and engagement data next to our talent management data and understand how they're impacting each other. And if we're maybe low in a particular area or not doing as well in a particular area, all right, how do we correct that? So being able to use data from the surveys to be able to drive what we need to do and where we need to work and focus in some of these other practices, and vice versa. They're highly correlated, they're highly connected. And if we're doing these things right together, there's just significant and wonderful harmony.
We can do amazing things by finding the right people and making sure we set them up to be successful.
But we got to be
So
intentional about it.
we have to be intentional about it. These things do not just happen. So we start with understanding what their workplace experience can be before they even officially join our organization. We show them who we are through employer branding and show them why we are a great place for them to work. And we learn who they are through assessment so we can make sure that not only are they the right person for the job, but they're a good fit within our team. We measure their employee or their workplace experience through surveys. That way they can tell us what they're living with day in and day out at work, and we can evaluate those results, identify potential changes, and really consider it as an opportunity to make the most out of our check-in. Action planning does not necessarily have to be this big, hairy, audacious thing. It can really just be different ways to capitalize on check-ins, whether it be for short-term, long-term goals, one-on-one versus team goals, those kinds of things. When we're talking about growth and development, growth starts with self-awareness. What do I have? Oh, who am I? What do I bring to work? What can I what can I, what can I build upon as a strength? What can I build upon from a weakness? How can I make those weaknesses a little bit stronger? And then realizing that by doing that, a lot of our talent can come from within. There's a lot to be said for helping folks grow within organizations, not just in the financial costs, but also you've got folks who know your organization inside and out. They've been here. They understand the nuances that it would take a lot of folks to teach. There's a lot of power. They have rapport with the rest of their coworkers. There's a lot to be said for maintaining and developing that talent and planning for that succession from within. And to wrap it all up, and I'll let Kevin say a few wrap up words here too. The basics of all of this are the same. They just look different over time, as with any of our basic foundational practices here. We can use all of the different tools, from hiring tools, managing tools, development tools, survey tools. We can use them throughout the employee life cycle to make sure that we are continually evaluating, monitoring folks' experience, and doing what we can to set them up for success, supporting them, mentoring them, and really just making sure that folks are able to bring their best selves to work. So Kevin, what else would you add to that?
I would say, again, be intentional. We need to be very careful and thoughtful about understanding what the process is that we want to be pushing throughout the organization, right? So intentionally plan and define your processes. Once we have good, solid processes in place, let's be consistent with how we do it. Um, Obviously having good technology to undergird all this is immensely helpful. Can it be done without it? Yes. Is it a whole lot easier with it? Absolutely. And to give you that visibility into where you are in your processes, what needs to be done, where people can learn and grow. So be intentional, have a good process, and then making sure that we're taking action and following through. If we say we're going to do something, do it. It's like the same thing. You wouldn't take a survey or do a survey if you're not planning to not only communicate back what you heard, but to take action on what came out of that as well. So we need to be willing to take that action on the back end. Um, Tying these things all together, it's again, there's a lot there, but it's nice to and how they work together, and